Doesn't seem like so long ago that we actually built this wall, but it's been several years now since we built the cave. And last year we started the Dev Den project. Got the little plaque on the wall there. And you may remember this was a storeroom and we went to great efforts to empty it out with Jason and to start to build the Dev Den. And we're due to show you how that turned out. In fact, we were probably due a few months ago to show you how that turned out. But as with everything that we do in the museum here and the museum down in the arcade archive, we've come to learn that when you do something, it's never quite finished. There's always tweaks, there's always something more that you can do to make it better and better. And so Jason's gone through that process himself. We had the Dev Den finished, towards the end of last year, maybe August, maybe September. We had a launch event where everyone came and enjoyed it. And then we changed a lot again, because that's just how things work around here. So we've given Jason the time and the space to sort of settle into it before presenting it to you on the channel to show you what he's come up with. So we're going to go through this door today. We're going to meet Jason and we're going to see everything about his happy place, the Dev Den, because he is so happy in there doing what he's doing, and I can't wait to see what he produces in there. But let's give Jason the opportunity to give us the tour of the Dev Den, the newest part of the cave.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Dev Den. So the Dev Den is basically divided into three areas. The Dev Desk, where I have my PDS kit set up. We have the display area, and then we have the music corner, which celebrates the development of music technology during the 80s. Okay, so let's start off with the Dev Desk, which is my favorite part of the Dev Den. So what we can see here is a kind of idealized version of the kind of Dev Desk I'd have liked back in the day. Believe me, it didn't look like this. It was a lot rougher and there was a lot less equipment on there as well. So up on the whiteboard here, we have various memorabilia and paraphernalia from my programming days back in the 80s. Here from the game Blazing Thunder that I worked on with high-tech software. We've got some sprite designs, hand-drawn sprite designs by Tom Lanigan of Pagoda Software. Over here we have some game ideas that I sketched out that never actually ended up getting used. And then down the bottom here, we have some memory maps, which are essential items to any programmer creating a new game. So the heart of the development system is the PDS, which I first purchased back in 1988. Here you can see it's running on a period Amstrad PC, connected to a Commodore 64. Basically, I write code on the PC and download it to the Commodore 64. So let's take a quick look at how that works. First of all, I have to load a small downloader program onto the Commodore 64 to allow the two machines to talk to each other. That shouldn't take very long. I'll just do that now. And this is loading from a floppy disk. There we go, that's done. That's a machine code program, so I just do a syscall to start that. So that's now running and the two machines are able to talk to each other. So I will just start up PDS and then we'll go into the disk system and load the files. So here we have the thousands of lines of code for the game Dailian Slime, along with all the data, the graphics data and the sound data. It's all held by the PDS and then transferred over to Commodore 64. Now, this game took about 6 months for us to design and code and finish. But believe me, without the PDS, it probably would have taken twice that long. So let's assemble the code and transfer it over to the Commodore 64. We do that with the F1 key. It's doing the first pass, it's doing the second pass, and there we go. It's asking if we want to download. So we'll say, yes, we do want to download. So the code is being downloaded via this cable that connects the two machines. That should be done now, so we can escape out of that. And if we go into the monitor section of the PDS, where we can directly read the Commodore 64's memory, we can just check to see that the coding is in there. So if I do D to disassemble the start of the coding, which is at 0800, there we go, the code is there. So if I want to run the code, I can just type the go command at that same address, and hopefully it should start running on the Commodore 64. And there we go, there's the game running.
If the summit of technological achievement for you is the C64, and if you know where to find them, maybe you can hire PCBWay.com. Not only do they offer a range of PCB, 3D printing and useful manufacturing services, they also have nearly 300 C64 related projects in their shared projects section that you can order with the click of a mouse. If you have a mouse, maybe they're a bit too modern for you. You'll figure it out. PCBWay.com. We thank them for their support, even if they don't thank me for the quality of my adverts. Jason.
You may notice on the title screen to Alien Slime that it says this is a fixed version of the game that I did a few years back. Basically what happened was we gave Virgin Mastertronic a finished working game, but during the mastering process, 4 bytes were corrupted by their mastering process that affected the sound routines, and nobody realized this at the time, and the game was actually published with that error in place, which meant that when you got to the final section of the game actually crashed. We didn't find this out until sometime later. So basically, I back in 2016, I decided to fix that problem. All my original PDF files were gone. I had to do it from the original cassette version of the game. I had to basically break into the game and find ways of transferring the code from the original cassette version into the PDS. And then I had to relearn the code, track down the bug and fix it, which I did manage to do. It was quite a difficult process, but I got there in the end because it had been some time since I've done any coding at that point. But I did manage to get it done, and then I released the fixed version of the game onto the internet, which was very satisfying to have it fixed after all that time. And here we even have an original dot matrix printer, an Amstrad LQ3500 linked to the PDS computer. And it works, and it does actually print out code. And if you want to hear the sound of retro, this is it. One of my original intentions when I was setting up the dev desk is that I wanted to try and keep it as authentic as possible by not using any sort of modern storage systems or peripherals. Unfortunately, I've had to compromise a little bit on that just out of practicality. The Amstrad PC that we're using to run the PDS system, the original MFM hard drive in there was completely dead. It seemed a bit mad to replace it with another hard drive that was probably going to fail anytime soon. So we have actually used a Pico mem card in there for mass storage. But saying that, I still actually use the floppy disk primarily to transfer data between this PDS and the PDS that I have at home. We have the Commodore 64 connected to the PDS and up and running fine. I want to get the Amstrad and the Spectrum connected to the PDS as well. Now, the Spectrum, we're almost there. We do have an original Spectrum interface, PDS interface. I am having to create a version of the downloader program that I mentioned that allowed the machines to talk to each other that will actually work from disk on a Spectrum Plus 3. So I'm in the process of doing that at the moment. We're not quite so far along with the Amstrad. We're still looking for an original Amstrad PDS interface. So if anybody out there can help us with that, to locate one of these interfaces, that would be very much appreciated. So the dev desk is kind of a dream come true for me because it's kind of an idealized version of the PDS setup. It's got the main machines I would like to develop for, the 64, the Spectrum and the Amstrad. There's lots of room for all my peripherals, printers, and I'm really happy with the way it's come out. Having said that, the PDS does actually work with the 16-bit machines, the Commodore Amiga and the Atari ST. And at some point in the future, I would like to start using the PDS to develop on those machines as well. So I guess I'm going to need Dev Desk Part 2, really, aren't I? Well, we had a grand opening. It was mostly finished, but we needed to do a lot of finessing, I think. We knew that there was more we could do with it. It was going to be an ongoing project, and we've had lots of members of the general public to come and have a look at the place, and many of them have been very happy with what they've found and very interested. But we've had a few special guests as well who have turned up. Jeff Minter, for a start, Mike Daly, Richard Costello, Frank Gaskin, and last but not least, Mark Fixes Stuff. Jeff Minter turned up on a public day. I couldn't believe it when he turned up. It took me an hour to summon up the nerve to go and talk to him. I mean, this guy is a living legend. But I did, and I showed him the Dev Den, and he seemed to enjoy it very much. He loved the nostalgia of it. It really took him back to the 8-bit days when things were so much simpler and so much easier, and he enjoyed it a great deal. And I shared with him some of the things I'm doing, some of the things I've done in the past, and we had some very interesting conversations, and he really seemed to enjoy it. It was great. And that was obviously a very special day for me. So here we have our display area with some amazing shelving that we acquired with the help of a viewer. We have a large selection of console dev kits here that have been donated to us. And we have a little shrine to Pagoda Software, the development business I started with my friend Tom Lanigan, some of our games, and Laser Genius. I wrote my first 2 games using this package before I got my PDS. And believe me, I was very glad to get the PDS. It's a great little package, but it wasn't easy. We've got some great vintage books down here. Some of these really take me back to the early days of programming, back when I was writing basic programs on an Acorn Atom, as you may have seen in the recent Acorn Atom video. We have various dev kits here for various machines, but without a doubt, the one that most people go to and stands out is this beast here, which is a PlayStation Tool dev kit for the PS2. Some of the other dev kits we have in our collection are the Wii dev kit down here. This is actually a Wii in a pre-production box with prototype circuitry. You can see the sensor bar on the top there. We've got an early rack-mounted PlayStation 3 dev kit here. This was pre-production before they actually started making the consoles themselves. These units were $10,000 a pop. As you can imagine, most developers couldn't afford that, which is why later on, Sony brought out this one, which was only $2,000. A bargain. So with so many of these dev kits being so expensive, of course, people tried to find more budget-conscious ways around it. And we had companies like Psygnosis's PsyQ division that came up with things like this Saturn dev kit, which is basically an off-the-shelf Saturn with a SCSI interface put into it so that you can connect it up to an external computer and send code down to the console. PsyQ also did this unit over here, which is for the SNES, and plugged directly into the cartridge port, and again, provided a SCSI interface to plug into an external PC. These units were, of course, considerably cheaper than the official dev kit. So we also have some dev kits for handheld units as well, like the PSP and the Game Boy Advance and the DS over here. And these are quite unusual because they have these umbilical cords that connect up to these units. Now, of course, you might think that this is an actual PSP here, but really all this is a screen and the controls. The guts of the PSP, the processing part, is in this box here. So here we have the Supercom. Now, this was actually a backup system that allowed you to back up SNES cartridges onto a floppy disk or a computer. But of course, what happened is that coders started connecting a computer to the system and using it to send code directly into the SNES console as a kind of budget development system. So, and over here, we have some interesting displays. We've got our small collection of external sound modules here, which were used by PC games enthusiasts, well, those with the money anyway. And we have one of the old Amiga video toasters here. We all remember those. Remember Babylon 5?
No.
And Sequest DSV? They were done on an Amiga. Yes. And we've got a lovely little display here as kind of tribute to David Marshall, the founder of digital integration and the developer of games like Fighter Pilot and F-16 combat pilot, and some interesting memorabilia here from his history, loaned to us by his son. And then this is a nice little piece here. We all remember Worms. Do you remember those lovely little voices on there? Well, this is the actual boombox that those voices were recorded on. And it's been loaned to the museum for us to share with enthusiasts and Worms fans everywhere. So when I fancy a change from coding and I want to play around with a bit of music, we have the music corner. So the heart of our music corner is an Atari Mega STE. This is very similar to the machine I had back when I did used to run a small recording studio a long time ago, using analog reel-to-reel tape. But for the MIDI part of it, I had an Atari Mega ST2. And again, using the built-in MIDI interfaces, I would use that to run the MIDI side of the studio and then synchronize it to the analog tape using SMPTE timecode. And it worked very well. I'm using a trackball because I've always used a trackball with studio-based computers, generally because you tended to have a huge mixing desk in front of you and no desk space to use a normal desktop mouse. So a trackball was definitely the way to go. So plugged into the Mega ST here, we have a Korg M1 synthesizer from 1988. This is a workstation synthesizer. It has a built-in sequencer, but of course we will be controlling it from the Mega STE. Now, this is a little different from the keyboard we had when we first started the Dev Den. Mainly that comes down to size. The old T1 that I had was just too huge for the layout that we ended up with in the Dev Den. So we've got the M1, which is like a kind of little brother to that keyboard, and we've managed to fit everything nice and neat into this corner over here. Paired with the Mega STE, we have an Atari SM144 monitor. Now this monitor was created specifically for the Mega STE. It's a black and white high resolution monitor, which was a standard requirement for any music package. So I'm going to load Cubase, which was without a doubt the industry standard software sequencer back in the day. Now this is version 3 of Cubase, which was the final version created for the Atari ST range. After this, later versions of Cubase did also feature the ability to record audio as well as MIDI data, but of course that sort of thing required much more powerful machines like PCs, Macs, and even the Atari Falcon. So I'm loading on a song program that I set up to work with the Korg M1 in a kind of multi-timbral mode that allowed people to record, allows visitors to record multiple instruments. Well, we've had a few people in who can actually play a bit. Maybe stun's a bit too strong a word, but I live in hope. So to help people appreciate the stuff we've got here, we've got some fantastic signage here created by Dan with text written by myself. So we've got some information here about the history of the MIDI interface, about the Atari ST and Cubase, which are obviously all the primary features of the music corner here. And of course we have signage for all our dev kits as well and the PDS. So that's the Dev Den, the culmination of a dream and a crazy idea that I suggested to Neil a few years back about me being a living exhibit. And here we are, and it's all come together and it's come together beautifully. And I've shared this room with so many different visitors and so many different guests, and everybody loves it, including myself. And I'm so happy to have been given this opportunity and to be part of the Retro Collective. It's made a massive difference to me, and I'm really looking forward to see where we can take the project with things like Mastertronic and developing this space even further. So thank you.
No, thank you, Jason. I think he's done a wonderful job in there. I'm itching to play on that Cubase corner, which is surprisingly a lot easier to use than I expected. I was always a bit daunted by programs like Cubase. I never put the time into learning them, but with Jason's guidance, it's actually a very simple program, and with his little setup so that he's got some instruments ready in his multi-timbral mode to go, I will do my absolute worst, and it will be bad, but I'm going to enjoy playing with it anyway. And I'm going to really look forward to seeing what Jason comes up with on the PDS system that he can publish on the Mastertronic label that we've somehow ended up with here. And if you are, like he said, if you are a budding programmer, sprite designer, musician, if you want to try and work with Jason to contribute to a project, or if you have your own project that you'd like to try and publish and help us to help you to get exposure to your game and get maximum eyeballs on it, then we'll do everything we can to help you with that, with the goal being to fulfill your dreams and Jason's dreams of publishing games, and to help raise the funds to continue to grow the museum, to grow areas like this, and to share as much of this as possible with everyone we can. And it was really important to me that we showed you this finished project before we move on to the next one, a huge project, which is the conversion of the garage, the upgrade of the workshop, the inventory room, everything else that we want to do over there that we had a wonderful fundraiser for. I'm not going to go into the detail of that now, only to say a huge thank you to everyone who bought that support bundle that we put out there. The digital support bundle raised a huge amount of money, and we have massively upgraded our plans as to what we're going to do. And there is, of course, going to be a video series about all of that. So you can look forward to that soon. But it was important to me that you see we are as good as our word, as we, hopefully you see we always have been. When we say we're going to do something, we do. Building the cave, building the arcade, now building the dev den, and it's on to the garage next, and it's all with your support. Thank you so much. Do take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you want to support everything we do, head to patreon.com/The Retro Collective and look out for Jason's games. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.